Now, after that second season, something happened to Marcus Reeves. Go ahead and give us insight.
It was. It's about pride. When you don't take when you start losing that pride on the field, it really started affecting me because I felt that I should have been out on the field more, and I started carrying it back with me. I started, skipping classes here and there. Then certain aspects of, my attitude might have changed towards the coaching staff because certain things that I felt that, how they were running their team, and it's their team, and they could run it as they want to, but it was something that I was dealing with personally and against them, and they didn't take it personally. They didn't miss me. They have 150 kids that they come in that sit there and do the same thing every day. So it was one of those things of it was a lesson, and I learned it. I started blowing off class, and grades were slipping. So I told myself, well, maybe I'll transfer and go to a school where I'll get playing time, and then sit out a year, and then progressively probably get back into a Division 1A game. And dreams like that just didn't happen. I ended up coming back home and got a job, and from there I started going back to classes here and there, still trying to keep up with my schooling. But in the real world, when you're trying to do that and trying to manage your money and you're still a young adult, you make silly mistakes.
But but why? Because I know you personally. All state quarterback, all state in hurdles, very competitive, great athlete, and you play 2 seasons of football and you never play again.
It, it was a bad decision. That's what it all comes down to. And I'm not going to sit there and say that it was all the coach's fault. No, because as you get into that position, you got to make the mindset of you want this. You came to this school for a reason, and they chose you for a reason. Now sometimes some schools do let you out of your contract, and they do make better decisions to go somewhere else. That wasn't for me. I shouldn't have made that decision. I probably should have buried my pride, went out there, hustled more, do what I have to do to get my grades, do what I have to do to graduate, to have a diploma in my hand, possibly even have a NFL contract in my hand. But things like that didn't happen.
But I remember, I was gonna try to go to Grand Valley State University, and you came down, and you liked the atmosphere, but you never followed the offer. Did you lose the love of the game?
It's not that I lost the love of the game. It's just that I had a more insight of the game of than I was probably a little bit wiser at that point in time because I felt that I had set out too long, and I probably could have came back at a junior college. I'm not gonna sit there and say that at that time I was still running, I was still lifting, and things like that. But it takes the thing of to uproot what I was doing at the time. It still takes money. And when it all comes down to it, it still was all about money because when you get your scholarship, that's what you go there for. But you got to use them as you want to be used. You get your they pay you money. You get your you get your diploma, and you get your education. And that's what a lot of the younger players are not realizing. My thing is when my friend Carl Bennings, when he was playing at junior college, and he invited me. He told me, "Hey, you would fit in great in this program." I had even told the coach about you, but at the same time, I wasn't trying to hear that because I didn't have my mindset right to get back in the game because I wanted to get back at the same level of competitiveness as I was. With my current grade situations, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have had to go there and sit and watch for probably a year and a half, and that would have ate me up inside. But at the same time, that's about pride. That's about the person that you have to deal with, or I mean, not as you, but as yourself, you have to deal with. And you have to bury your own demons, and you have to deal with what you have to do to get where you want to go.
Okay. We have a lot of critics who say Marcus Reeves is probably one of the best athletes that ever come to East Chicago Central. Then you have the negative critics who make statements like Marcus Reeves was a great athlete, but he was faster than everybody in high school, so that made him good. So then when he go to college and he faced the same type of competition, now he runs. What do you say to that?
When I faced the same type of competition, I was one of the top 5 fastest at the college as well. It wasn't that if they were faster or they were stronger because I was stronger than a lot of players that started before me. The thing what it was about it's a mindset, and I just didn't have my mindset ready at that time. And the thing is, I didn't prepare me. It's you can be prepared, someone can tell you, but at the same time, until you go in there and realize it and do it, it's about you. So I just didn't prepare my mindset at the time, and at the time that it just wasn't in my future at the time.
It's a big debate going on East Chicago history about the best athletes that ever come through in football. You also play basketball, so I want to touch on that as well, and also was an all-state track athlete. But I want to touch on football. Each position, one player. Start off a running back.
I would have to say Montel France, Ping, because his size and speed at the time was one of the best that I had seen. And if we can't break it down in errors, I'd have to give it to him.
Okay. So, I mean, when you say errors, what are you talking about? I mean,
as I say errors, because it was different type of tailbacks for different types of offenses, and certain tailbacks can't do certain type of offenses. We had some of the strongest tailbacks, that come through there, but at the same time, could you put them in a mix of with a option team to understand of you need to stay within a certain amount of yards of the pitch? Do I have to tell you a certain amount of times of which way to go, which way to line up? And
for one game, you got one game, you want one running back. Who you taking? Options, area, power, whatever. Who you want?
And I'll say this because he was my tailback at the time. I'm gonna say Patrick Edwards because as a tailback, he had just as many catches as almost as my receiver.
So you saying that Patrick Edwards is better than Martell France?
No.
Or Royce Roberson?
But I'm not saying that at the same time. But this is who I'm taking. You ask me who I want. I want Patrick Edwards because he understood the offense of what to get done.
But when I asked you the best running back, you said Ping.
You asked me who I wanted.
But then you said it matters on errors.
But you asked me who I wanted.
I felt like Ping could play on any era. So are you saying that
I don't feel Ping would have felt comfortable with an era like mine because they didn't throw the ball like we did. We didn't run. We ran option. They did not. They were a running-based team. They ran power. They ran lead. And hey, they got the job done.
So are you saying Patrick Evans is the best running back in Central history?
No, I'm not. But you asked me who I wanted.
So who are you saying the best running back ever?
I told you, Montel.
Fullback.
Fullback, I'd have to say Carl Bennings. He was one of the stronger and bigger fullbacks that we had. But sometimes it was a lack of effort on the field, but he did get the job done.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver, because we came through a such diverse team of we spread out the ball the most, and I'm gonna have to say the most person I threw it to the most was Antoine Kennedy, because I grew up with him, and it was an understanding of if I threw it to him, you know what I'm saying, I felt that he was gonna catch it every time. Now, there were others who held the record and done those other things, but I don't feel that they were as strong and as talented as Antoine Kennedy was.
So you're saying Antoine Kennedy is the best receiver in Central history?
Yeah.
O-lineman.
O-lineman, I'd have to give it to D-Ski.
Derek Wilson.
Derek Wilson.
Okay.
For his age and his now, mind you, he was not the average sophomore that came through there when we were seniors and stuff like that, because he was a pretty decent sized kid and he understood the plays and he had quickness and his footwork was great. At the same time, that I did have also other linemen on that team as well, and I would like to give them their props of what they had, because I went through all the years with Joel Rodriguez. He was also a very smart, intelligent player. Nick Akamovich, he was also he was thrown into our team a little bit later on as we were juniors and seniors, but at the same time I have to give him what he had, because he learned the offense faster than most people that I had seen there.
D-lineman.
D-lineman, I'd have to give it to Adrian McLean, because he was one of the most aggressive, go through the ball people that I'd ever seen, at that time. It's just certain aspects kept him off the field, and we'd have loved to have him there all the time. But at the same time,
So are you saying that Adrian McLean is better than Robert Smith, or you saying in your opinion?
You know what? Adrian McLean was at the time the team there, but also T.C. Wilson. T.C. Wilson he blew through the line as well, but for his size, and then Rob Smith. I didn't get to see much of Rob Smith's era and Damon Williams, but at the same time, only thing I can go by is the era that I saw at the time, and at the time, I'd have to give it to Adrian McClain.
Linebacker.
At the time, I have to give it to Aaron Smith, because Aaron, he loved to hit people, and he loved to hit them hard. and but at the same time, I had seen other great hits by other people, but I would say Aaron because he was aggressive towards the ball at all times. He may not have been in the right position at all times, but he was aggressive towards the ball.
Cornerback.
At corner, I'd have to give it to Chris Brawler, because we call him Stunt. Stunt held it down, because if you beat him deep, you was going to get the 15-yard, because he wasn't going to let you beat him. But at the same time, he did come up and he did stick better than any corner that I had seen up there at the time, and he understood the defensive plays.
Safety. You know, the all-time best, in everybody's opinion, is
actually, I'm gonna say because of one hit that I had seen, I would see Jahi Garrett, because I seen against Bishop Knoll, he hit a person and sent them to the hospital. And at the time, I had never seen anything like that in a high school game, and I don't even know what had happened to the kid after that.
Well, okay. Now I left one position out, and as you know, quarterback position. There's been a lot of talk about the best quarterback, and your name come up: Keon Frazier, Eric Irvin Woods, Bob Gillis. So I want to get from you, who do you feel is the best quarterback in Chicago Central history, and why?
Well, one, at that point in time, stats speak for themselves. So at the time, I would have to say me, because I had the highest pass percentage rating. But as pure athlete at the game that had the arm, the brains, and the legs for it, I would have to also say me as well. But if we go to pure arm strength, by far alone, I'd give it to Keon Frazier every time.
So you're saying Keon Frazier is the best quarterback in Central history?
I'm saying arm, best arm. But we have to go by, when you have your quarterback, who do you want to lead your team? Do you want somebody who's just going to rock it out there to you, that doesn't understand the total offense, that's not going to get it to you there all the time? Or when you get in a scuffle, are you going to break down? Or do you want someone who's going to have a cool head, someone who's going to get the ball to the right person at the right time? And then stats show that was me.
So the best quarterback in Central history is?
Marcus Reeves.
All right. Now, you also play basketball. Just a real quick analysis. I want to throw some names out. Before I get to basketball, I want to throw some names at you on football. Just give me a quick analysis on them. Mike McGee.
Mike McGee, by far, had the best heart on the team, because I will say this, he gave 110% if he was knocking himself out or if he was knocking an opponent out at every given moment. Because Mike played both ways. He didn't complain. He didn't come out. Only time he came out is when he had to come out, because he had hit somebody so hard, or he was just too exhausted to get out there for the next play.